Every day, more than 1 billion children are taking the road to go to school. They are obliged often to walk on the road. They don't have safe spaces to cross. As a result, every day, 500 children are killed on the road. They leave their family in the morning to go to school and they never come back. That's not acceptable. That's something we can fix and we have to fix now.
When they're about to set for school, when I pray for them, I just pray to God that He should take them to the school safely and then bring them back safely.
Here in sub-Saharan Africa, children are twice as likely to be killed in a road crash as anywhere else in the world. The opportunity that we have now is that this issue is finally being addressed on the international agenda. We have the road safety targets and air quality targets in the Sustainable Development Goals. Now, this has been agreed by governments from around the world in many hours of negotiations. They've got to now take it seriously, and we need to translate these words on a page into action on streets like this.
It shouldn't happen to any child or any person. So they should put a stop to all this. It's very painful. She suffered very much. How could a lovely child die like this in a painful way?
The government's focus on roads and infrastructure, on all these things. But who are these for at the end of the day? It's about the people. How does the mobility of people become realized? It's very simple. What happened to sidewalks? I mean, you can't put people and cars in the same lanes, but that's what happens in Ghana. People are literally walking in the streets. How can you plan a street in the 21st century and not have a sidewalk?
We're outside the school in Accra where we've put in place footpaths and speed humps to try and protect the children. And these kids who are coming into school now know that they can get across the road safely and get to school safely, and it reduces the stress, but more importantly, it prevents injuries, because a lot of children are being injured. Children from this school have been injured recently, and we know that if we can put footpaths in, it will cut the injuries dramatically.
Through the FIA Foundation's Global Initiative for Child Health and Mobility, we really focus on safe and sustainable transport for children, specifically a safe and healthy journey to school. The FIA Foundation believes very strongly in the mission of Global NCAP and its life-saving work. So for years we've been supporting NCAP, providing not only financial assistance but also practical support to make its mission a reality. Well, we're actually going to see a crash test between one car that's well designed and protects its occupants and another that's poorly designed. And it's pretty incredible because you can see the difference that vehicle design makes in protecting passengers.
We've been testing these cars for 5 years and continue 0, 0, 0, 1, 2, 0 stars. So I really want to understand how they do to make this type of decision. They say for Latin American market, no safety. Many people dying, and there is no need for this. You know, they can prevent this.
What we're also extremely interested in is the most vulnerable passengers, right? Our children. And you can see behind me, we actually have a facility here that tests the impact of crashes on children. But in so many areas of the world, kids don't even have seatbelts. They don't have child seats in the car. And that's why it's so important to be doing this work here and to be taking those lessons and applying them all over the world.
I'm here in Quito for the Habitat 3 conference. It is the conference and converging of great minds, of leaders, where the protection of the most vulnerable is at stake, where the big difference can be made for road users, for climate change, for everything to be a better world and a healthier planet. And that is what Habitat 3 conference is all about.
One very important thing happening here in Quito in Habitat 3 is the prioritization of road safety, right there front and center in the outcome document. That means that countries, cities will be focusing on this. It's really putting a spotlight on the fact that children are disproportionately affected by issues of road safety, of air pollution, and that cities need to take proactive action to really change that.
I think air pollution is one of the issues I strongly believe is going to actually help change the tide, because air pollution does not just affect the poor, it affects everyone in the city. For more than 40% of kids in Delhi, more than 40%, suffer asthma that is directly correlated back to air quality. And so I feel because it affects children and because it affects everyone in the city, there is a moment right now to build a coalition for fundamentally changing this.
So we're here today obviously in support of the Global Initiative for Child Health and Mobility. It's great to see that this initiative operates as a partnership. Here's a team of people who are ready to actually implement the objectives and actually meet the targets.
This global initiative is the voice countries are waiting for.
It was brought out today at the FIA Foundation conference that children can lose up to 3% of their IQ if they're brought up in a highly polluted area. So alongside road safety, it's really important that we tackle the problem of environmental pollution in an increasingly urban world. At the moment, 50% of the world is urbanized. That's going to go up dramatically. Most children are going to be born in cities in the future, and unless we tackle road safety or pollution, those children are not going to have the same sort of opportunities that we would like to see.
So our Child Health Mobility Initiative is all about guaranteeing children a safe, clean route to school. Often the routes that children take to schools are along roads which are congested and polluted, and the air quality is appalling. And children are the most vulnerable. Once the pollutants are in their lungs, the development thereafter is compromised.
They get affected. Kids are growing. Because they are growing and their lungs are immature. If they get affected at the initial period, say during first 2 years, they will have lifelong permanent effects. We can say they can have persistent problem throughout their life.
It is a kind of a national crisis that we are talking about. So in this city today, when you see the kind of pollution happening, the exposure, that is what we are inhaling, what is happening within our breathing zone. It is significantly high. And from that perspective, particularly those who are very vulnerable in the city, the elderly, the children, those who are suffering from all kinds of respiratory problems. Imagine that what kind of health risk is for them to breathe this kind of air.
And children have the right to breathe clean air. Children have the right to be able to go to school, to learn and come back. We think it's absurd that developed countries can still dump 15-year-old vehicles in developing countries. So basically they're exporting their environmental pollution to developing countries and developing country cities, where they will still be driving around for 10 years. They failed the emissions tests in the developed countries, so we export them to Africa, where they'll still be polluting for another 10, 15 years. That is causing massive amounts of urban air pollution. This is why the Global Fuel Economy Initiative is very relevant, because without doing something about the efficiency of the vehicles that are going into these developing countries, we'll continue to suffer major urban air quality problems.
I've been advocating for road safety thanks to the FIA Foundation for quite a few years. And now with the FIA, with all the automobile clubs around the world, and they have about 150 countries involved, where they are championing the cause very, very strongly.
Road safety is such a big concern. It's the #1 cause of fatalities for people between 15 to 29. It is already one of the worst cause of mortality in the society, and we speak about mortality, but we should also speak about injuries. We cannot accept to have 50 million people who are injured on the road with the consequences it means for them, for the family, for the society. So it is something which is absolutely unacceptable. And it is very important to link road safety to environment, to pollution, to human rights.
We've got the Sustainable Development Goals, which for the very first time include targets for reducing road deaths and road injury. So we've got to take it from the pages of paper and onto the roads of the world, and that's what I think we've now been able to achieve. So we're now in the business of delivering on specific targets that have been signed up to by all the governments, and they'll be held to account if they don't achieve it.